Good evening to you. JView stands for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, where we're broadcasting live from the economic capital, Douala. In our top stories, the management response team against COVID-19 in the southwest region says there are no testing kits. And the mayors in the southwest region are equally telling Governor Bernardo Calyabilai that they do not have sufficient funds to carry out sensitization campaigns. But the regional delegates of decentralization and local development says they are not honest. We equally talk about Northwest Governor Adobile Lafrique, who says that a curfew might be instituted in the northwest region of Cameroon should the population do not respect the anti-COVID barrier measures put in place by the government to curb spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Plus the president of Tanzania, whose mortal remains have been laid to rest, that's today in his homeland. We'll tell you more in this newscast. Good evening once again. Thanks for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. We begin by talking about the road stretch linking Bamenda, the northwest region, and Babaju in the west region of the country. Circulation since yesterday has been re-established after that stretch of roads cut in two halves and hindering circulation, and passengers who were leaving and entering Bamenda were stranded and had to spend the night. Meantime, the governors of the northwest region and equally the west regions were on the scene, that was yesterday, to inspect the rehabilitation of the deviation path that collapsed. Smanjikan Gebo reports.
Governors of the northwest and west regions forced out of their offices and transformed into supervisors of road works. Adolphe Lele Lafrique and Awafonka Augustine were out to see for themselves the hold-up caused as a result of the collapse of the deviation at Bamenji roundabout getting to Bankwe in the Bambutus of the West region, which is along the Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road. The two administrative authorities came to ensure that for the time being, a temporal way out should be created for the road users. Some of these road users believe the presence of the two governors is a film.
You know how they come to they get wait me hot court before they come to make a one-man show for you.
According to sources gathered, the company charged with the construction of the road, JS Atom, had abandoned work since February. Reasons for the incident. JS Atom is blaming government that since their materials were burnt, they haven't replaced them. As if that wasn't enough, a contract signed with government showed JS Atom sole contractor to rehabilitate the Bamenda Babaju stretch of road, and that contract was interrupted as new companies were introduced. Even though two governors supervised the opening of a temporal way with cars circulating, danger is not yet completely wiped out, as any other heavy downpour might still interrupt circulation along the Bamenda Babaju Highway, which is on National Road number 11.
The governor of the West region, Awafonka Augustine, says or promises that in the days ahead, things will be put straight on that stretch of road linking the Northwest region and the West region. He equally is saying that contractors have been told to do so efficiently. Take a listen to Awafonka Augustine, governor of the West region.
Traffic has already resumed. On coming in, there were some other contractors who were brought in to be able to carry out some work to establish this traffic that was interrupted because of an incident on the, near Babaju. I want to assure you that people can go about their activities. Also to notice that in the days ahead, the Minister of Public Works will be here because Soja Satom had halted its activities, work for a month and a half, and so they received a notification from Minister of Public Works letting them know that government may have to take other measures, and I think that is what is going on, and in the days ahead we'll be very clear on the issue.
For effective realization of these projects, the population needs to collaborate with the government. That's according to Governor Adolphine Lafrique of the Northwest region. He spoke to Equinoxe Television. Take a listen to him, the following excerpt.
I'm here to reassure the population, the economic operators, that the situation is running without any issue from Bamenda to Bafusam. We witnessed an incident that has already been solved, and with the help of the contractors that are already on the field, they are doing some rehabilitation works that have permitted the circulation to be reestablished. And we want to reassure that the work are going to continue, and that the way will not be cut again. We are therefore appealing to the contractor to respect the engagement they have taken in front of us, in front of the government, by signing a contract. We are also taking necessary security steps to secure the road. And you cannot secure the road without the help of the population. We are appealing to the population, the traditional rulers, the political leaders, and everybody that is involved to help the security services to assure security in the corridor between Bafusam and Bamenda.
And the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Ngano Jomisi, on his part, held a meeting in the West region, and so far contracted a new company, Capte Sal, for the urgent continuation of works on the Babaju-Bamenda stretch. He made the announcement that was this week as he chaired an emergency meeting with stakeholders of the public works sector at the Divisional Delegation of Public Works for Bamboo Tools. The emergency meeting came as a result of the splitting of this stretch in Ndoji Babaju subdivision early Thursday that left hundreds of passengers stranded. He also reassured the timely and qualitative execution of works by the company that will be under the supervision of the West Regional Delegate for Public Works, and many are doubting or questioning if this is going to be another scam that's been dished out to the population, because in the previous they were accusing separatist fighters for delaying the projects. And now we move down to Bamenda, chief town of the Northwest region, where several business structures established along major road stretches within the city have been demolished for rehabilitation of the broken and cratered roads, which have impeded flexible circulation. Many property owners have been affected by this project on the Nquen stretch of roads right up to Finance and Gang Junction stretch of roads. In a release dated March 24, the city mayor Paul Achobong instructed all victims to seek authorization from the council before embarking on any enclosure. According to the city mayor, this is to ensure that such works conform to the provisions of the city's approved planning documents and the vision of these projects. The city council will guide owners of such premises on how to proceed in conformity with its plan of action. Meantime, properties destroyed points have been evaluated for discussion by the Commission following up roads rehabilitation in the city of Bamenda for possible compensation. These projects are being realized thanks to the financial partnership between Cameroon and the World Bank. When completed, the populations of Bamenda will certainly express a sigh of relief as the town suffered from what many critics termed impassable footpath roads before the Anglophone crisis. The nature of the Bamenda roads worsened when the Anglophone crisis started and escalated to an armed conflict. And now, the management response team against COVID-19 in the southwest region of Cameroon say there are no testing keys. Meantime, mayors in the southwest region have equally told the governor of the southwest region, Bernardo Calabilai, that they do not have sufficient funds to carry out sensitization campaigns. Meantime, the regional delegate for decentralization and local development says they are not honest. Derry Jotto completes that story.
How equipped is the southwest region to fight and protect her population against COVID-19?
We cannot test because we do not have the kits.
Which means that a region of plus 1.8 million people is exposed and vulnerable. And it is also disturbing that even the few tested and confirmed positive cases are instead sent back into the community.
Right now, we've tested, they are positive, they are out in the community. Nobody stays at home. They are out there infecting other people.
And Bernardo Calabilai, governor of the Southwest region, in an evaluation meeting with his collaborators Tuesday, March 23, 2021, revealed that intensify the prevention campaign seemed to be the last resort. But his local collaborators, especially the mayors, told him that the means are not even available for the sensitization campaigns against COVID.
These councils, I want to testify, do not have the means as at now to cater for this wave of COVID that is coming in.
But the Southwest Regional Delegate of Decentralization and Local Development briefed Governor Bernardo Calabilai that some funds were made available to all the councils in the region to fight the pandemic by his ministry.
Make available some funds to the councils, and the Minister of Health also did the same. But to the best of my knowledge, from the information that I gathered from the field, very few councils, very few mayors have used this money the way it is recommended. Others say the money is still there, they are not using it. I don't know why they are not using the money.
But it was surprising that city councils like that of Limbe and Komba were sidelined.
This money was only sent to sub-divisional councils and not to city council.
The Komba City Council Mayor Gregory Mewanu says his office has been confronting the pandemic head-on with the little internal means.
I personally have made sure that there is a provision, of course, at the entrance of our structure, the City Council of Kumba, where everybody is of course compelled to have a mask on, to have the possibility of washing their hands, and we bought 2 machines from France, which are the automatic sanitizer producing liquid. In the market, of course, in Kumba, we make sure we're getting there to sensitize the people. The football field, where it is the general, I would say, tradition that even the players will give themselves a hug every time they score a goal.
At the end of the evaluation meeting, Southwest Governor Bernardo Calabilai drew a weekly campaign calendar.
All the administration should give a minimum of 3 hours out of the 8 for the fight against COVID. That means from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, all the GOs in uniform with their team should be moving around to make sure that barrier measures are implemented.
and call on the Southwest population to respect all the barrier measures, for the opportunity to fight against COVID is now that they are still alive.
In the Northwest region, Governor Adolphe Lafrique tells the population that should they kick against the anti-COVID-19 barrier measures put in place by the government of Cameroon as the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic claims more lives and affects more persons, the government will take another decision, that is instituting another curfew that will see the population to forcefully respect these measures, notably staying home and maintaining the social distancing. According to him, the number of cases have been increasing in the Northwest region because the population have not been wearing their face masks and equally respecting the social distancing rule. Details with Mostella.
For the last 7 days, the Northwest region recorded over 462 new cases of the coronavirus and 14 deaths.
Since the beginning of 2021, we are experiencing a rapid increase in the number of cases, but also the number of deaths. And there are weeks that we have been able to record 602 cases, and that is like 5 times more than the highest number of cases that we recorded last year.
Tap buckets almost everywhere, but no running water. The wearing of face masks as a measure to curb the spread of the coronavirus is at the side of control teams.
You don't get for dinner for store, you're supposed to wear them.
The situation is preoccupying, and the devastating consequences of the pandemic are feared in the Northwest region as no one is spared.
It's not a disease that concerns only one category of people. We've seen that one of the problems is that we have refused to believe in the existence. So we're just pleading on all of us here to be ambassadors of this message. Let people know that COVID-19 is a reality. Let people believe in the existence of COVID-19. Let people do the right things, and that is going to test themselves and adhere to treatment.
While on his tour to markets and schools within Bamenda 1, 2, and 3 subdivisions, the Northwest Governor Adolphe Lafrique distributed face masks, tap buckets, and soap to encourage the inhabitants to take serious the measures put in place to curb the spread of the pandemic. He added that a curfew or other strict measures are imminent should the trend in infection and death recorded continue to rise, the governor warns.
We have recorded close to 40 deaths this month in the Northwest region. If we continue like this, we are going to suggest the head of state to take more stringent measures, including proclaiming curfew or some other measures here.
The population is also advised to limit overcrowded areas, visit health facilities in case of any health challenges, as testing and treatment for COVID-19 is free of charge.
Despite difficulties faced in getting to their respective farms amid gun battles, farmers in the Northwest region have been hailed for their bravery to feed the population whose living standards are costly due to the socio-political crisis and COVID-19 pandemic, which have crippled the economy. The farmers were congratulated by Northwest Governor Adolphe Lafrique during launching of the 2021 agricultural season in the region, notably in Santa subdivision. The farmers seized the opportunity to request for more assistance from the government. During the ceremony, they were encouraged with seeds to keep agriculture alive. Medino officials promised the farmers good farm to market roads in no distant time to facilitate evacuation of crops from farms to commercial centers. Meantime, mayors of the Santa or the mayor of the Santa Council expressed the wish for the crisis to end so that many farmers who are now IDPs, so internally displaced persons in French-speaking cities, return home and join their peers, revamp the falling agricultural sector. He regretted the fact that many farmers have been victims of kidnapping for ransom, rape in their farms, crop destruction, to mention but these. Now, the socio-economic and security crisis has further deepened the poor working and living conditions of council workers of the Kupe-Maningoba division in the Recife Southwest region. Workers in this council say they have been sidelined over the year by the government or by government's inability to better their working conditions. However, a leap of change seems to be at the verge of being implemented and authorized by the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development to better their living conditions. Charles Ekume reports.
After several complaints from councils following working conditions of community and council workers in the Kupe-Maningoba division of the Southwest region, a census of all staff in the 3 councils of the division, notably in Bangem, Tombel and Guti, has been authorized by the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development because it has been observed that several employees appear on files without working status and are not registered with the National Social Insurance Fund, the CNPS. So many of us have been working for over 10 years and we don't even know our position by the CNPS. Before, the system was disorganized and there were irregularities of salaries. Moreover, there were many official documents which were not included in our files. Most of the times it felt like we were not recognized as council workers. A series of factors such as the socio-economic and sanitary crisis, which has further deepened the poor working and living conditions of these workers, has pushed the Divisional Delegate of Decentralization and Local Development, NASACO, Daniel Molondo, to conduct and supervise a census exercise so as to improve the working conditions of these community and council workers.
The objective of this exercise is to identify all the council workers in different councils in the division, and it is an exercise that has been structured by the minister to make sure that all the personnel in the council's situations are known, because there are many complaints that council's workers are not well taken care of. So it was just necessary that the census exercise takes place for the ministry to know exactly the real situation facing the councils and their workers.
This piece of information has brought hope to several workers who are now elated and believe that this could be the beginning of a new day.
In the past, council workers were always considered as an underdog. From time immemorial, an exercise like this has never happened in Cameroon. So if this one has come now to carry on a census that involves all councils in the whole republic, I think there is a positive change that is coming ahead.
Although the Kupe-Maningoba division still faces the heat of the Anglophone crisis, all hope is not lost with the gradual restructuring by the country's administrators who have embarked on a quest towards revamping this deadening economy.
On to something else. According to the Cameroon Heart Foundation, cardiovascular diseases, particularly coronary heart disease and stroke, remain the leading killer of women in the country. In order to reduce the high mortality rates, some women drawn from different walks of life were drilled on techniques on how to save persons suffering with cardiovascular diseases during crisis periods like that of the COVID-19 pandemic. Immaculate Fogwe.
Recently, there has been a predominant rise of cardiovascular diseases in Cameroon. The situation has even become more critical due to the high prevalence of the coronavirus pandemic. According to Cameroon Heart Foundation, over 60% of women are suffering with cardiovascular diseases in the country. The high prevalence rate of the disease amongst women has been attributed to the sensitive nature of women.
The situation is bad, and then the women are the first victims of cardiovascular diseases. The woman is the first group for the main risk of cardiovascular diseases, even for obesity, overweight, hypertension, diabetes. So it's an emergency. It's a high necessity to fight against cardiovascular diseases in the women to protect our family, our society, and our country.
In order to curb the rise of cardiovascular morbidity and mortality rates, the Cameroon Heart Foundation drilled women on mechanisms and lifestyle changes that can improve their health.
Concerning morbid mortalities of cardiovascular diseases, the women die by cardiovascular disease, the first cause of the death in the woman. So for that, we have to act. That's why in Cameroon Heart Foundation, a specific program called Programme Alerte Rouge, specifically dedicated to the fight against cardiovascular diseases for the women. That's why we are here today.
On the occasion of the month of March, dedicated to women, close to 50 women drawn from the media and civil society organizations were drilled on techniques on how to handle cardiovascular cases in order to save lives.
And in news out of Cameroon, the body of late president of Tanzania arrived at Rubambagwe Stadium, that's Chateau, mid-morning, and he was honored with the singing of both the national anthem and the East African anthem and a 21-gun salute. A Catholic mass was then conducted by the Tanzania Episcopal Conference President Archbishop Gervas John. The body was later transferred to his home for burial. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, ex-presidents Ali Hassan Mwinyi and Jakaya Kikwete and other dignitaries were in attendance. Meantime, Mr. Magufuli died on March 17 from heart complications at Nzena Hospital, and current President Samia Suluhu announced his death on the same day, and his mortal remains have been laid to rest this day in his native town. Up next is Talking Point. And this evening we having as guest Fidelis Pege Manga. He is communications coordinator of the Worldwide Fund for Nature in Cameroon. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Good evening. It's good to be here.
You are talking about Worldwide Fund for Nature. I would like us to begin by looking at the mission of the Worldwide Fund of Nature in Cameroon. What's the mission? What are some of those things that you're targeting?
The Worldwide Fund for Nature is commonly known as WWF. Is an international conservation organization that has as mission to fight against the degradation of the planet resources and to build a world where humans live in harmony with nature by protecting most of the sensitive places and species in the world, by working against excessive consumption and destruction of biodiversity, and by making sure that people, human beings, work together to address the problems that are facing our planet.
And so currently we're facing a lot of aspects, notably deforestation and equally poaching. Do those things actually have a negative impact in today's society?
I think our planet is facing a very big challenge. In the last 40 years, we've seen a very dramatic decline in biodiversity. In fact, between 1970 and 2016, according to the WWF Living Planet report, we lost 68% of wildlife population has been lost. And this has been caused essentially by the actions of man. In fact, we are trying to expand our farms to be able to feed the growing population. We are about 8 billion people in the world today, and we need food to feed this population. We need infrastructure. So the way we are conducting business has contributed in destroying nature, and the human beings are now at the center of biodiversity loss. So poaching, illegal logging, illegal exploitation of wood, pollution, and so on are all caused by human beings, and this is having very grievous consequences on our environment. And you know, nature is our life support system. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, the medicines that we produce and that we consume for our health come from nature. And if we are in a situation where we are losing nature at this very alarming rate, chances are we are going to destroy ourselves, and nature is going to revolt against us. So the situation is really critical, and we are saying that people should speak up for nature, to stand up and say, please, we want to change the paradigm and help our nature and people to thrive.
We have deforestation and all those activities. Many people say it is in order to actually bring about development of the country, that we don't want to live in total enclavement, but to have a developed environment or developed society. Don't you think to an extent it's due to the exploding nature of the population, and it's positive? People want to live in a modern society and not like in a rural setting.
Definitely we encourage development, but if you carry out development without thinking of the sustainability aspect of it, the risk is that the destruction is going to cost even more to human beings than the development we are advocating for. We can develop, we can build roads, we can build houses, we can open up farms, but there are norms and procedures that we need to follow to ensure that when we want to create a road, we are not destroying a water catchment, we are not destroying a water point, we are not destroying the habitat of some critically endangered species. So we are not saying that we shouldn't develop. Other countries have developed, but the environmental aspect is the key for any sustainable development. We're talking about sustainability. Sustainability means that if you want to develop, you put in place mitigation measures to ensure that you are not destroying the environment, because the price we're going to pay for destroying the environment is higher than any development. It's going to affect human beings. Today we've seen the critical situation the world is going through with zoonosis. It's because our interaction with nature has not been very helpful. It has been so unbalanced. So we are destroying nature, and we are coming very close to the wildlife. The animals don't have their habitats, so we are going closer to them. They are like out of control, and they find themselves with people living closely together, and that is having an impact on our health. So that is we want to develop, but what are the consequences? So we are encouraging people to put in sustainability in the development process, so that if you want to open up agricultural plantation, you have palm oil plantations, for example. All palm oil plantations are existing. Instead of cutting down new forests to set up new palm oil plantation, why not go back and rehabilitate the old plantations that you have? And it is going to be still productive. We're setting up industry. We need to look at where are we setting up the industry. Is it going to affect people? What are the consequences, the pollution that will come from it? Have we taken mitigation measures to ensure that this is actually addressed? If we cannot address it, honestly, the impact will be huge than the benefits from the development we are vying for.
And looking at in your program, you're talking about Earth Hour 2021, Speak Up for Nature. What is this Earth Hour 2021 all about?
Earth Hour is a global grassroots movement that started in 2007 to drum up support of communities, of government, of people all across the world to raise awareness on nature, on the environment, on the challenges facing the environment. It started in Sydney by a simple switch off of light for 1 hour to show our concern for the environment. But this movement has grown over the years, and today we are celebrating the 6th Earth Hour in Cameroon, but WWF is at the 15th Earth Hour since it started. So the essence of Earth Hour is to drum up support. People should be able to add their voices to actions that are being taken to protect the environment. So Earth Hour 2021 is aimed at calling on people to speak up for nature, because if people don't act, nothing will happen, and all of us are going to suffer. So actually today we were in with some artist champion of WWF like Mr. Leo, Daphne, Laura Onyama, we had Takam, Irish Takam, all of those comedians, artists who have decided to add their voices to this movement because they have realized that we are facing a planetary challenge. If we don't act, the reaction from nature is going to be huge, and we're going to suffer. So for the only way we can get decision makers to begin to act, to begin to take action, is if we can show that everybody is concerned. The critical mass, the youth, the old, the young, the business people, the civil society are all called upon to take action to be able to protect what we have as nature. So that is the essence of EDR, a global movement everywhere. So tomorrow at 8:30, there will be a lot of action on the social media because we don't want to celebrate physically this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are not going to organize a big meeting that we had planned to organize in Palais des Sports in Yaoundé with 4,000 students to be able to raise their voices for the planet. But people are going to be sending messages, sharing images, sharing videos to show their concern for the planet. So that is what EDR is all about. And you know, this year 2021 is a very critical year because this is a year where we have very serious decisions that will be made by leaders of the world. First of all, you have the climate COP, the conference of parties on climate change that's going to take place in Glasgow this year. We have the convention for biodiversity that is going to take place in Kunming in China in October this year. So these are key moments where very critical decisions will be taken about the planet. So we are using this opportunity to mobilize the masses, the communities from the grassroots, right up to the decision makers, right up to the United Nations, so that action can be taken to arrest the problems, the challenges that are facing our planet.
And we equally notice that at the local level, that is in rural areas, we have this information not actually reaching in those remote places. What tool have you used to actually sensitize the people in the rural areas or remote areas in order to actually, although people do not actually understand the plan that you carry out perhaps here in the littoral region, what essential tool are you using to equally impact or make the people in the remote areas to understand this concept of preserving the nature?
I think WWF is one of those few organizations that are very present in the field. So in the ground, like in the east of Cameroon, in Yokaduma, in Mulundu, in Goila, and so on, we have teams that are working to share this information. We are working with the partners, civil society organizations, to relay the messages. We are working with opinion leaders, traditional leaders, teachers, school teachers, to be able to drum up support and relay the information at the local level. We think that people are getting more and more informed about what is happening, because from what we have been seeing, even currently, there's already posting a lot of videos on EDR 2021. So we think that at the local level, a lot of efforts, we cannot be everywhere.
Okay, many have
everywhere, but yes, but we are trying as much as possible to engage partners who are where we are not, so that they can help us relay the information. Now, you could imagine that in the rural area you will not have electricity, you will not have access to television. But I think that in some communities in the areas where we work, they have access to television.
And just briefly before we move out, before we end the news, when and where is EDR taking place this year? And equally tell what is the focus of EDR 2021? Just briefly before.
EDR is going to take place virtually. Normally it takes place in 190 countries across the world, and you have different landmarks that has 10 off the light symbolically. But this year, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, EDR is taking place virtually. That's on digital platforms, and that is what we were doing today. Today, the EDR this year is focused on speaking up for nature. because like I said, nature is very, very important. It's very, very essential. Nature is threatened. The COVID pandemic has demonstrated very clearly that we need to change the way we interact with nature. So this year, we are calling on people to speak up for nature and connect to Earth. In fact, there are platforms that are urging people to go up there, raise their voice for the planet, connect to Earth on this 2021 Earth Hour.
Okay, I guess the people have actually assimilated the information that you've certainly passed across, and who want to remind you that we had as guest Fidelis Pege Manga, who is communications coordinator of the Worldwide Fund for Nature in Cameroon. That's ending this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thanks so much for watching. Do have a splendid weekend.